This is Gemara and Sotah Daf Hey, and we'd like to one last day dedicate all the learning for today as a schos Elias Neshama for Miriam Bas Eliezer Akayin, whose yahrzeit was yesterday on Yud Aleph Nisan, and one last time the schos of the entire Chabura learning right before Yontif, taking off time to learn another Daf Gemara should bring Miriam Bas Eliezer Akayin to higher in place in Gan Eden Shel Maila. And as you realize, we're trying to get the Yishurim up early as we have a 3-day Yontif coming up. Now we're in America with everyone else. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Shabbos. So b'siyata d'shmaya, the plan is to get all of them up before Yantif so that those who like to prepare could do so. So we pick it up, Hey Amid Aleph, 3 lines from the top. And we continue learning about Gaiva, Gasas Aruach, those who just finished learning Mesil Sisharim together with us a few weeks ago. This will bring back some memories of the incredible Ramchal's rendition of Gaiva and the terrible abhorrence to it. So says the Gemara, 3 lines from the top, Azhara Legasi Aruach Manayin. What is the Azhara? Where do we find in the Torah that we're warned against being haughty of spirit? Amar Rava teaches Rava Amar Ziri, says the pasuk in Yirmiyahu. So I shouldn't say in the Torah. Inach Shemu v'hazinu al tikbahu. Shemu, listen. V'hazinu, and be attentive. Al tikbahu. Do not be haughty. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar Me'acha. A pasuk in Devarim, Ram levavcha, in the high of heart, v'shachachta, and then you're going to forget. And the pasuk concludes as Hashem Elokecha. Uksev, and another pasuk in Devarim, Yisham lecha, be careful and watch. Pentishkach as Hashem Elokecha, perhaps you're going to forget Hashem, your God. Uchravav Amar Avilai, Tamravav Amar Avilai, Kol Makam, any place, Shenemer Yishamer Pen Va'al. Those 3 words in the Torah connote Eino Ella, Beloisa say, that is a loisa say, it's a negative commandment. So we're learning there is a negative commandment, a lav, against being haughty, gasas haruach, abal gaiva. Darash Rav Avira, 4 lines on the white line, Zimnin Amalei Mishayder Ravasi, and Rav Avira sometimes Zimnin Amalei Mishayder Ravami. That what Kol Adam Sheish Bagasas Haruach L'Saif Mismait. Anyone who's haughty, he's high, he thinks I'm so big. You know what Hashem says? L'Saif Mismait. You're going to become very small. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, a pasuk in Iyov, Raimai Ma'at V'Shama Ta'amar Yeshna Ba'ilam. No, I read that incorrectly. One more time. Shenemar Roimu Ma'at. As the pasuk says, they are exalted. Rom Ma'at. They're going to be decreased. V'Shema Taimar. Maybe you're going to say Yeshna Ba'ilam. They'll still exist, okay? This Baal Gaiva is going to be decreased, but he's still at least going to be part of this world. Tamalaymar in the first white line. Veinenu. And they are no longer. Vim chayzer boy, but then, of course, if one does tshuva, if one humbles himself, nesaf bizmanoi ka'Avraham Avinu, he's going to be gathered in at the predestined time, like Avraham Avinu shenemar, as the pasuk says, v'homchu ka'kol yikafson. As the pasuk says, they're crushed, like they were all leap away. And what does this word all mean? One who is crushed, one who is low. Kavrabi Tav Yaakov, Tachsiv Behu, Bakol, Mikol, Kol. So the word Kol, utilized over here in reference to the one who's become the opposite of being haughty, is going to merit like Avram Avinu Vimlav. And if not, then what happens if one doesn't do tshuva? Ukiraishi Bailes Yimalu. Says the pasuk, they're going to be cracked off like the Reishi Bales, like the top of the stalk. So, Micah Reishi Bales, what does that mean? A machlekes. Ravuna v'Rav Chisda Chad Amar Kisasa d'Shebelta. One says like the beard of the stalk, v'Chad Amar Kishi Bales Atzma, like the stalk itself. So explains the Gemara. Bishlam Adam Kisasa d'Shebelta, like the beard of the stalk, like the beard of the stalk. Hainu d'Chsev. Like the top of the stalk is the way that the stalks are at the top. They have the little beardy guy. But according to the opinion that says, like the stalk itself, Gavayahu milakate. What does it mean, Roshi Bailas? So they explain in the yeshiva of Rabbi Yishmael, person who goes into his field to harvest, Gavayahu milakate. Where does he cut first? From the highest ones. So the pasuk is teaching us in Roshi Bailas, the one who is haughty, one who is high. Unfortunately, he's going to be the first one that is chopped down. And we continue dealing with humility, the opposite of gaiva, with another machlekes, Rav Huna and Rav Chisda. We are approximately 7 lines into the wide lines. First word on the line is ve'es dake ushfal ruach. Says the Gemara here, quoting a pasuk in Yeshaya, ve'es dake ushfal ruach, one who is low and is despondent. Rav Huna and Rav Chisda charamar esi iti daka. One says that Hashem says, together with me is the daka. There's one that is very low and despondent. V'chad amar, ani at daka. And the other opinion says, I am with the despondent. Meaning what? Well, first opinion says, iti daka. Hashem pulls up those low up to him, up high. Second opinion says, ani as daka, that Hashem comes down below to be with the one that is humble. Says the Gemara, Mustavik Vandamar Aniyas Taka, the second opinion, which teaches us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself descends from up on high to dwell with whom? The one that is low of spirit, the one who is humble. Sharei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Iniyah Kol Arim Gvais V'Hisha Shechinasai Al Har Sinai. Hashem could have put his Shechina anywhere, but where does God rest? On little Har Sinai, cause to show us the power of humility. Did Hashem pick up Har Sinai all above? No. Hashem came down to Har Sinai, showing us, like the second opinion, that how does Hashem treat one who is humble? That He Himself, God Himself, descends down to him. Everyone should teach from the midah, from the midas, from the sensibility of his creator. What do we learn? Hashem left everything, and where did he put his glory? Where did he put his Shechina? On Har Sinai. Similarly, where did Hashem appear to Moshe Rabbeinu for the first time? On the sneh, on the low bush. Again, pointing out this din, that what? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu resides on that which is low and that which is humble. Amar Rav Elazar, Kol Adam sheyesh bo gasas haruach. So after talking about humility, we go back to Gaiva. Apologies. We go back to Gaiva. What happens? Someone who is gasaruach ra'ui ligadoi. He is fitting to be cut down ka'ashera, like the Ashera tree. We're about 25 lines from the bottom of Hayam Aleph. The first word line is boy gasos. Ksivach, it says over here, v'rami akaima geduim, about talking about Gaiva. Those who have lofty stature will be cut down. Uksev, and the pasuk Hasam over there says Vashareim tigadeon. So that same word of Gada, Giduin, Tigadeon is utilized both by cutting down the Avodah Zarah and by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and by what will happen to one who is a Baal Gaiva. Ein Afai Ninar. One who is Gaiva, what's going to happen? His dust will not be stirred, will not shake at the time of Tchias HaMeisim, Rachmana Litzlan. Shenemar HaKoitzi V'rananu Sheichne Afar. As a pasuk says, awake and sing. Those who dwell in the dirt, Sheichvei Be'afar Leinamar. The pasuk does not say those who are lying Sheichev in the dirt, El Sheichne Afar, which means Mishenas Shochein La'afar B'chayov. One who became a neighbor to the dirt, one who was humble in his lifetime. Those are the ones that will awaken at Tchias HaMeisim. V'amar Rav Elazar, a third teaching about Gaiva Kol Adam B'Yishva Gasaruach. Shechina Milales Alav. What's going to happen? The Shechina itself will be Miyalel, will cry and lament over him. Shenemar Ugavoya Mimerchak Yi Yeda. says the pasuk that the kavaya, the arrogant, mimerchak yeda, will be very far as Hashem grieves over them. Darash of Avira, the beginning of this pasuk says, "V'timar avalazah bar reish like when it's baruch b'dis basar v'dam." Midas basar v'dam when it comes to human beings. Kavaya royes agavaya. When you're high, you see up high. As in agavaya royes hashafal. One who is of tremendous stature, he doesn't look down at the paupers. Avol midas agadosh baruch hu einay kain. Who kavaya? Of course, Hashem is of most high. But royes hashafal Shem gram Hashem v'shafal yirah. Amar Rav Chisda continues the Gemara teaching us about a Baal Gaiva v'Yitema Marokva. Kol Adam sheish b'Gaz HaRuach HaKadosh Baruch Hu Einan Ivahu Yechayl Nadar Ba'Ilam. Hashem says, Rachmana Litzlan, you're a Baal Gaiva. I, God, can't be in the same world as you. Shenemar Milashni Basisa Reyu Itoi Atzmis Gavoya Einayim Itoi Lo Yuchal. Again, one more time. Milashni basiser, one who's lashain, one whose tongue in seser, in the privacy re'eyu of his friend, oisaya atzmitz, kava inayim. Hashem says, I'm gonna have to cut him down. Urachav levav oisaylu uchal, and him I cannot bear. Lo uchal, says the pasuk, al tikri oisai el itay lo uchal. With him I cannot be, says Hashem, I cannot be in the same world with the Baal Gaiva. There are those that say this pasuk is not talking about a Baal Gaiva. It's talking about a Lashon Basiser, which of course is one who talks Lashon Hara. Shenamar, as the pasuk says, Lashon Basiser Eyu Itai Atzmis. Continues the Gemara. We're about 13 lines to the bottom of him. With Aleph, the first one line is Shenamar. Amar Rav Alexandri. Kol Adam sheish b'Gaz HaRuach. Even a light wind bothers him. Shenamar v'Rashaim keyam nigurash, as the pasuk says, the wicked will be like driven like the ocean. Mayam sheish b'Kama Raviyos ruach kima oichartoi. Just like the yam is huge, and yet ruach kima oicharta, the slightest of wind, what does it do to the ocean? It makes the ocean move. It agitates the water. Adam, she'ein by ela revios achas, per human beings have only one revius of blood, all the liquids in our body. Alachas kama v'kama, that when he is a Baal Gaiva, what's going to happen? What's going to happen is, even the smallest of winds will as well agitate him. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rav Chia Barashi, lines at the bottom, Amar Rav Tamachacham Sar Shieboy Echam Mishmoina Mishminiyos. Says the Gemara, even though we just finished talking how terrible and how atrocious and how horrible the Baal Gaiva is, still comes like Rav Chia Barashi, the name of Rav, and teaches that the Tamachacham needs to have an eighth of Gaiva. Amar Rav Huna Brei Rav Yeshua Me'atara Le kisasa lishi balta, and the haughtiness is the crown over the beer for the stalk. Meaning the Baal Gaiva, the haughtiness is good for him. The Azaz the kedusha, the Gaiva of Torah, that he has to be a little bit above. If the Rav, the Talmid Chacham, the Rosh Yeshiva is not a drop above anywhere else, then people are not going to treat him with appropriate accord. So says Rav Chia Barashi Rav, even though Gaiva is terrible, but still a little bit, one who's a Talmid Chacham has to have such. Amar Rava, and teaches Rava, Bishamta de Isbei. Says Rava, when one is in Shamta, says Rava, if one has Gaiva, he's in Shamta. What's Shamta? Cherem, he's excommunicated. Ubishamta de Lesbei. And as well, says Rava, but if you have zero, you're also Bishamta, you're also in Cherem again. You need to have a little bit of Gaiva. Amar Nachbar Yitzchak, he argues, and he says no. Loi minei v'loi mixasa, neither it nor even a part of it. Mi zutar d'chsiv bei, is it small, that which it says, Toyevas Hashem kol kav aleif. So argues Rav Nachbar Yitzchak and says, I don't care any implications, but lamaisa, you cannot have any bit of gaiva for the simple fact that the Torah labels gaiva as a toyeva. Amar Chizkiah. Now, as we've taught how much perhaps an eighth of a dot of gaiva you should have, we go straight into back discussing anava. Says Chizkiah 5 lines to the bottom of Hayam and Aleph, Ein Tvilasa Shal Adam Nishmas, Elam Ke Misaliva Kebasar. You have to make your heart soft like flesh. You have to be humble. Shenemar vayimidei chodesh bechadsha yavi kol basar l'shtachavayis. The basar will come to bow to Hashem. Amar avzira basar ksiv bei v'nirpa adam like ksiv bei. Basar ksiv bei v'nirpa. By the basar, if you're humble, it says v'nirpa, you'll be healed. But adam, if you're firm like a person, like ksiv bei v'nirpa, does not say you'll be healed. And Amar Rav Yechanan says Rav Yechanan, adam, what does the letters Aleph, Dal, and Mem stand for? Efer, Dam, Mara. That which a person has to remind himself that he's from the Efer, he's from the dust, he's from the Dam, from blood, and Mara of bile. Basar, what does that refer to? Busha, Srucha, Rima. The humility, Srucha, foul, smelly, and the Rima and worms. Ika Diamri, and some say no, Shaul, Dechsiv Bishin, that the middle letter of Basar is not Srucha, which means foul, because that's with a Samach, but rather it goes with a Shin of Shaul, which means to the grave, that which we have to remind ourselves of constantly. Amar Rav Ashkelon Bishvik Azaruach, Lesoif Nifachis. What nifchas? What's going to happen if one is a balgaiva? He'll be diminished. He'll lose all his hair. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, we turn over to Heil Mebeis uleseis ulesabachas ve'ein seis el lashon gavaya. That's a lashon of haughtiness. Shenemar al kol harim aramim al kol agvayis and nisais. So we see and nisais that the word seis refers to haughtiness. Ve'ein sabachas el tefila lowliness. Shenemar sipachni. Sefachini na al achas akunas lachol pas lachem. Attach me so I could eat even a little morsel of bread. We see the terrible calamity, that could be the gaiva, and rather the incredible and critical importance that humility plays in our Yiddishkeit. We continue with now the schar that one will get for his humility. Amar Rav Yeshua, 5 lines down, Hayam and Beis ben Levi, Borei, come and see, Kama Gedailim Nimuchei Aruach. How incredible are those who have a low spirit lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shemshasha Beis HaMikdash Kayom. When we had a Beis HaMikdash, what was the greatest thing? Adam Makriv Ayla, Schar Ayla Biyadi, you have the reward of a carbon Ayla, Mincha, you have Schar Mincha Biyadi. Aval Mishet Aita Shveila, someone who is humble, Mala, cause of what does the Torah consider of such a person? Keilu Hekriv Kol HaKarbanos Kulam Shenemar. Zivchei Elokim Ruach Nishbara. Not only that, El She'ein Tfilas in Nemesis, his prayers will not be ignored, will not become disgusting. Shenamar Leiv Nishbar V'Nitka Elokim Leisivza, that the prayers of the lowly heart Hashem listens to. V'Amar V'Shub ben Levi, Kol HaSamar Chaysa Balam Hazeh, anyone who places his matters in this world, Zeicha Ra'aya B'Yushas Shal Kadosh Baruch Hu, will merit the salvation of Hashem. Shenamar V'Sam Derech Harenu B'Yisha Elokim Al Tikri V'Sham Ela. I'll take you with some elevisham derech, but rather evaluate your ways. Make sure you're acting with the utmost anava, utmost humility, and that is how Hashem will ultimately listen to us. And we wrap up today's daf. We're halfway down Ham and Beis. The 2 das, Kitz and Mekana law, going back into the dinim of the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, how do you do kinoi? How do you warn this potential Sotah? And what did the Mishnah teach us? You say, do not be secluded with a man. If do not speak with a man, she speaks with him, she's not a Sotah. But if she secludes with him, she is a Sotah. So says the Gemara, I don't understand. Hagufa kasha, the Mishnah itself is contradictory. The Mishnah says that he has to say in front of 2 people not to talk. Tidaber, to talk with a certain man's alma. So what do we see? What's the way of doing kinui, of warning? Dibur stiru. We see that the words are the steer, the words are the form of warning. And that is a form of seclusion. Then the Mishnah continues and says, Dibura imai. But if she goes and she speaks with him, then what? Adayin. She's still mutter. So Alma, what do we see? Tibur is like Lamu. That talking is nothing. So what is it? Is talking the way of warning and of steer or not? Amar Abaye, says Abaye Achikamer. This is how you have to read the Mishnah. Al tidabri, if he said don't speak with a man, v'dibra, and she spoke with him, or al tidabri, he said don't speak with a man, v'nistra, and she actually was secluded with that man, still v'loy klum. Or, let's get rid of the word v'loy klum. Or if he says al tistri, don't be secluded. So you said the actual seclusion, but what'd she do? V'dibra, she spoke with him. So if any of the three variables, either he warned about speaking and she spoke, he warned about speaking and she secluded, he warned about secluding and she spoke, all of these cases, adayin muteris labeisa muteris lachablat. Why? Because the critical ingredient is the stira, is the seclusion. But what happens if she goes and secludes with him? Then says the Gemara that is where there is a forbiddance in the event that she actually goes and is secluded with him. Let's see Rashi for one moment. We're actually going to pause over here. Let's see Rashi for one moment about what is this critical ingredient of the stira that and again, so the critical ingredient, I'm sorry, I was just confused. Let me get back over here. The critical ingredient is that you need to have a warning of stira and an actual stira and actual seclusion. But if you have a warning of talking and then she even went and secluded, or a warning of secluded and she spoke, or a warning of talking and she spoke, none of those are an issue. Until you have the warning of seclusion and actual seclusion, that is a case of kinoi. We're going to stop over here by the two dots in which the Gemara says in Chayletzes, B'siyata D'Shemaya. We'll pick up from here in the next shir.